would like to take this opportunity to welcome you all on our workshop number 7. And what is it all about? Preparing to grow by looking after compliance and requirements. And of course, we are here. We are here because of our ASISA Foundation. ASISA Foundation is funding this. They've been around for about 10 years, and it's really around them funding organizations, individuals that are previously disadvantaged. And for this to happen, the EPI is the implementation partner. What are we covering today? Today we will cover how to prepare for growth by complying to regulations and law, right? By legal and regulatory compliance is important. What are the most important items to attend to in being compliant, and your next steps to meet compliant requirements and being fundable. So all of this is so that you can be fundable, you can attract the right possible things that are coming. And then what was nice is then we took a question that you all kind of covered and discussed, right? In your WhatsApp. You shared some my challenges in being fundable. What are the challenges you are having? What regulatory laws do I need to comply with? And how can I be fundable by looking after my compliance? So this was in the WhatsApp group. That conversation kind of happened. Any feedback, maybe Sister Mvuyo or Christoph or Butsfiso have some insight around, or even you, Butsia, some of the things that came out in that WhatsApp discussion. Was there something that stood out? Or anyone who would like to unmute and share what came out of that conversation? Anybody?
I noticed, Tobeka, a few comments there. That some said, I know that I need to have some things in place when I want to be fundable, and I'm putting them in place, which is a great sign, sort of that we are aware that there are certain things that we need to attend to that are perhaps not in place yet. So I think
Yes.
it's opportune for us to confirm exactly what all those things are.
Great. And it's nice that the person's aware. Over to you, Putsia.
Okay, what I picked up is that people are really keen to be compliant, and not only for funding. I think people, it will help them to meet requirements of certain clients. There are certain clients who are really strict about compliance. And in that, if let's say you are an electrician, you need to comply with some regulations, and some clients won't even allow you on site without complying to certain regulations, and that is guided by health and safety as well. So that's what I picked up, that entrepreneurs are really keen in complying in their businesses.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Butsia, on that insight. So this is a good segue to kind of get into our breakout and for us to discuss this a little more. So Christoph is creating the groups. You'll be in the groups for 15 minutes. Now, again, colleagues, you need to make use of this time. You are in control of time. Time is there and you tap into it and you make use of it. So it's if you spend the first 5 minutes just on mute and quiet, well, then everything will be mute and quiet. But if you unmute yourself and start talking to one other person or two other people, then we'll know. We'll also be able to tell if there's no engagement. So please make sure you start talking. If you are talking and no one's responding and you've given them about a minute, please feel free to come back and we'll put you in another group, or we will, because we don't want you to be held up by other people as well, since you are taking control of your own learning as well, since we've created the space. So I'd really encourage you all to do that. So as you know, in the breakout room, this is the topic we're going to discuss, and I've put it in the chat. You introduce yourself again if you don't know each other. If you already know each other, then go straight into B. which is each of you get 1 minute to share where you felt overwhelmed in submitting funding applications or meeting compliant requirements. So however that overwhelming showed up, overwhelming of did you send it or did you end up starting and then giving up? However that showed up, like overwhelming, share those insights. And then for some of you, share ideas on solving these challenges, where some of you were like, kept going. So what kept you going if you didn't get overwhelmed and didn't do it versus some of you did it? Share some challenges on how you overcame that challenge of feeling overwhelmed or feeling that it was too much. And then go on to identify 3 tips of new entrepreneurs on how they may best approach compliance of law and regulation. So all of you are going to think, you know what, if I had to give someone a tip on how to do this, this is one thing I would say they should do. And another person gives one tip and another person gives another tip. Okay, great. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm loving all the copy and pasting in the chat. Well, I hope Fiso will come on in a moment. We have about 3 minutes. We'll use our next 3 minutes to really talk about, or 4 minutes, about some feedback, hear some voices, to share what they got out of it. The feedback discussion is it that one? Is really what are we struggling with in keeping our businesses compliant? Does anyone want to start talking about that, and what can we do to overcome compliance issues and be fundable? So the feedback is answering these questions, right? So initially you were sharing insights. So from what was shared, now you are answering these questions and share some tips as well. So what's the main thing people are struggling with? And how can we overcome? And the tips. So what came out of your group? Anyone wants to start with a voice? Butsvisa, over to you.
Good afternoon again. Thank you very much, guys. I can see work coming through. Room 12 talks about bookkeeping, paid, unpaid debts, separate personal from business, pay yourself first, be always compliant with SARS and CIPC. Room 5 is saying knowing how to do things oneself, compiling a checklist of the requirements, seeking mentorship, stay updated regularly, or regularly review updates in your industry regulations to remain compliant and avoid unexpected fines. Matsebula is saying health and safety compliance, go to health department and they will help you with the necessary documents and compliance. Municipal database, visit municipality for PR numbers. CIPC compliance, visit the website and check on the certification compliance. Room 8, Maki is saying set goals on how to work towards obtaining all certificates. Do research on your industry and certificates that are required. Set reminders for certificate renewal. I think this is very, very insightful, because you could be compliant, but because you're so busy with the business, it's very easy to find that actually are 6 months behind and suddenly you are non-compliant. So very wise there, Maki. I think that's what I can pick up for now.
Yeah. And especially around the CIPC, you know, those extra 50 rands you have to pay because you behind. I'm like, oh, not again, Tobega. You know, it's only, I know it's so-called only 50 rand, but it's still money. That if I was compliant and I'd put a reminder, you know, I wouldn't have to give CIPC that extra when you do your annual returns on CIPC, you know, but yeah.
Yeah, thank you to room 13. Room 13 is
Sorry,
saying always have documents ready, utilize ready-made templates. They say they have templates for financial projections, find suitable applications for in-house bookkeeping. Thank you, George.
Gefense, you want to say something? I see you've unmuted.
Oh no, I didn't want to say anything. Sorry.
Oh, no worries. Okay. Does anyone have some story around being overwhelmed, and how did you get over it in reality?
Hi, Tobeka.
Hi, Ivor.
I was in a nice group. There was Levi and a couple of other people in the room, and they had some interesting stories. I don't know if Levi might want to talk about his story.
Aha, thank you. Levi, please share your insights. We want to learn from you, all of us now. Is Levi here? But anyone who was in that group.
Who
No,
was
I was
also
giving the team, some tips regarding the finding. So especially when they want to apply for bigger amounts. So that because the first thing that they need your financials to be intact, like your income statement, your balance sheet, and the cash flow of your business. Again, on your business plan, they will need business projections of like a period of maybe 6 months, 6 months minimum, or just to a year projection. So, and then again, the other tip that I give to the team is that the other requirement that they will need the contracts of your suppliers. If maybe you are supplying, goods to maybe your supermarkets or something, you must have contracts in place as well. The other thing that they will need the staff meetings of your business. So whenever maybe you are having your monthly staff meetings, you must gather minutes for that staff meetings as an evidence that your business is fully functional. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Levi. Butsviso, how would you like to conclude this point before we hand over
Yeah,
to Ashley?
I'd like to say that I think clearly in the discussions, the focus here indeed was on compliance. So compliance is very important. And because of the different sizes of businesses, if you're all by yourself, definitely becomes very important that it is something that is always on your things to do, that you check regularly. But as the team grows, you're able to delegate this responsibility to someone else. Someone who has an accountant, some of the compliance things can be taken over by the accountant. But obviously, access to funding requires more than just compliance, right? As perhaps the last speaker has just demonstrated, that the bank or the financer will want other things as well. So thank you very much, guys, for sharing those insights and thoughts.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much, Butsviso. And without any further ado, let's get into the topic. Let's get into the topic of be fundable by looking after your compliance and requirements. And I'm excited that we are having our Ashley, who is the Enterprise Development Specialist. And he has some insight. He's worked in the space. He'll give you his history. He's a banker, but he was a banker, so he knows exactly what needs to be done. So we are very lucky to have that here. And without any further ado, how are you doing, Mr. Ash?
I'm doing well, Tobeka, and thank you for the warm welcome this afternoon.
All right, let's do those claps. Let's do some virtual clapping. Let's welcome him in the space. And then as those are going, there we go. Can you see the virtual claps? Ah, Nazo.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I love it. That always shows proof of life even more for me. Perfect. Well, with all those claps, over to you, Mr. Ash.
Thank you, colleagues, and good afternoon to the entrepreneurs in the room, and also all colleagues from ASISA Foundation and all stakeholders in the room. So, as a background about me, so I've spent almost 19 years in the financial services industry. I worked for 2 of the 4 largest banks in South Africa. And I worked in several business units from private banking up to business banking. And for the past 5 years, I've been working in the enterprise development space, either working with entrepreneurs to raise capital and also how to scale their businesses. So in short, that's what I'm doing. And also I'm a coach on this program. Today's topic can be very interesting and boring at the same time, because compliance by its nature can be boring because there's a lot of admin that you need to do. I take running a business like going on a journey, right? So you're going on a journey from Polokwane to Cape Town, driving. There are 2 things that you probably need to do. You need to plan, and secondly, you need to be proactive in your planning and have what might be the different scenarios. What if it rains on the way? What if there are strong winds? What if the road is closed because there is snow? And all those things you must take into effect. Let's just look at this road trip from Polokwane to Cape Town. You're going to rely on the dashboard of your car. An average car nowadays has 18 common warning lights. 18. And those are very important for you to take into account so that you can really make sure that you arrive at your destination on time and safe. So there are 3 types of dashboard symbols. Probably you'll see the green and the blue lights. They simply let you know that a system or the car is operating, everything is fine. Then you have the orange and yellow. They signify that your vehicle needs to be serviced or repaired soon. But the orange and the yellow lights are less urgent than if you have the red or the flashing light. And the third type is the red light. What does that mean? It means we need action immediately. So some red lights are safety warnings, like wear a seatbelt. Others are mechanical, like, hey, engine oil or overheating problem with the car. But you know that if a red mechanical light appears, pull over as soon as possible. Pull over as soon as possible and figure out what is going on. Because your vehicle will likely stop working or become damaged if you continue to drive. Right? Let's think about our business. Where are we in terms of compliance in our businesses? Are we green, blue, orange, yellow, or red? And what are we doing in terms of being proactive and also planning? But one thing that must always keep in mind is that every car is different. So the symbols on your dashboard may vary slightly, as some businesses vary. But we all know that if one of the 18 lights on your dashboard come red, it might affect the car might stop moving. It might affect the whole car, just one. So what is that one thing, compliance thing in your business that might stop you from operating? So think about this carefully, right? Can you go back to the slides, please? Having said what I've said, and now having clarity on the card dashboard symbols, we all are operating in different businesses. So it means we'll have different lights, meaning different things. If you're going into a business, either you are expanding, or you are moving up or down the value chain, or you're diversifying, make sure that you really take time to understand what are the rules of the game that you're going into. For example, on my left, on the left-hand side of my screen, there are soccer players, right? In soccer, you need to, players that are on the field, they need to use their legs or feet to kick the ball. But if they hold or touch the ball with their hands or arms, it's an infringement. But the goalkeeper can use both hands and his feet, but within a certain dedicated space. So now you're playing soccer, you want to go, you are a striker, you want to go play netball. You get there, you want to kick the ball. It's an infringement. Because in netball, the ball doesn't get kicked, it gets thrown around. So very important, you need to understand what game are you playing and what are the rules of that game, so that you are able to plan and become proactive, so that you don't miss opportunities. Most of you have seen what happened during COVID. There were opportunities for grants, but most businesses were not ready. So the idea is that be ready and make sure that you are ready when the opportunity arises, because you're gonna find yourself in the challenge that in this current economy, we have lots and lots of small opportunities. They are not big like before, and the windows are very short. So you have to be agile when you respond to these opportunities, meaning that you must be ready. And by business compliance, we simply mean that you need to comply with the laws and regulations that government and regulatory bodies in every country. You need to understand your destination markets as well. What is it that you need to comply with? Next slide, please. It says my internet is unstable. Okay. Can you hear me?
You are breaking up intermittently.
Let's just disable your video.
Audible?
If you can switch off your video, Ashley, then I think we should be okay. Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right. Am I audible now?
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
I think we may have
can
lost
keep
Ashley
going.
now. Totally. He's at Sasol in the boardroom, so I think the internet should normally be okay. But maybe we can.
He was talking about how important it is to know the game.
At least you see, if I ignore it,
As we wait to connect to him, I
I'm
was
back
just
and sorry for that.
Oh, good.
Perfect. No problem. I'll switch off my camera as
Can you
well.
hear me?
Yes,
we
keep
can hear
going,
you now.
Rudy.
I don't know what happened there, but
It's
my
fine. Keep.
internet is up. So, but the most important thing for you as an entrepreneur is that you're running a business, and what is it that can stop you or prevent you from accessing certain markets? And how do you come again?
We can hear you, Ashley. No, now we've lost this connection totally. So, Tobeka, I'll suggest let's talk about this issue about the reasons for compliance. Then perhaps you can come in. Rashida, if you can perhaps just get on the phone with Ashley, please.
Yeah, sure.
So if you can just connect voice-wise, then at least we can cover. I would not be in a position to cover the details of the stuff that's still to come today. But let's have a discussion about these points because they are very important. And I think the point that Ashley was making now is that the reason for us to be compliant is that we can have access to the clients. Market access is the yes, Ashley, back. Now we can see you
Yes,
well, and your voice is good too.
I moved to another network. I moved to Vodacom now. Looks a bit stable.
Advertising allowed, Ashley.
So the reason why you're in business is because you want to sell your products or services to certain clients. But if you're not compliant, you won't even get an opportunity to do that. But if you are compliant, you'll then have a competitive advantage if everything else is equal. If it's me and you running the same business, my business is compliant, yours is not, it's obvious. The person who's going to access markets better is the one who's compliant. So besides being a legal obligation, it also will help you to in South Africa, we've seen kids in townships and villages
I'll suggest, Rashida, that you maybe phone Ashley and if you can move to another place. But the point being here, compliance is not something that's just enforced on us. It is something that makes us competitive, sort of. So I'll switch on my camera to Tobeka. And I'm not sure if Navuya wants to come in too. So, I mean, the point being here that it can also lead to improved business processes and so on, sort of. So market access firstly, but then also improvement of our business. We just run our businesses better if we make sure that we're compliant to the requirements. So if you think of something like health and safety compliance requirements, if you meet those requirements, your business is going to function better. But the main thing being, and then I'll hand over back to Ashley, is that it's about reputation. Sort of if we have a compliant business, then people will view us differently from being non-compliant. And that puts us at an advantage in terms of things like getting a bank loan, things like you mentioned, Ashley, earlier, if there is a crisis in the country and there's a grant like COVID was, but you're not compliant, you will not be able to access that. But most importantly, in terms of customers trust us better if we're compliant. And then I'll hand back to you, Ashley, to keep going.
Thank you, Christoph. So reputation is what we have as an entrepreneur. If you are not compliant and people buy things from you that they can't use because they are not of acceptable standard, you're definitely gonna have a bad reputation and you're gonna lose, customer trust. The clients that normally had who were loyal to you will go to other alternatives. And very soon, investors will know about your business and they won't support you, either being, bankers or funders or investors. And the other challenge is if you must be ready in terms of crisis. So if you are not compliant, you don't have systems in place, it will be very difficult for you to recover from a crisis moment. So hence I said earlier on, planning and being proactive, right? And after everything, when everything else is equal, we're saying it will give you competitive advantage over your competitors if you are competitive, you are compliant, and other businesses are not compliant. So it is good for you in terms of positioning you out there and becoming a market leader. So you, because of compliance. Because we're in South Africa, let's try and look at what are the compliance, requirements that you should consider if you're going to start or you want to grow your business or you want to move into a different sector. So we'll look at company law, and then we'll also look at regulatory compliance and licensing, health and safety compliance, quality and standards, B compliance. Then those who are in agriculture, we look at global good agricultural practices. And number 7, taxation and compliance. I know, we don't love the taxman, but we don't have a choice. As long as we are running a business and it's registered, government will come in and get what is due to them. And employment laws, we have data protection and privacy laws as very important, because now we run our businesses online, and the last one is financial statements. We all know that if you're operating in South Africa, you need to register your company with CIPC, and also you need to file your annual return. And nowadays, I'm told there's beneficial ownership register. So that is what you need to do in terms of company law. And we might say, when you start, this is what you need to do. And also, to stay in business, you need to do your annual returns and also your beneficial ownership relationship. Secondly, thanks for the chat. As for years, it's been upgraded to the Biz portal. And the nice thing is that some of the things you can do for yourself, you don't have to go to an accountant. Then we have the second category, which is regulatory compliance and licensing. So what are the specific issues when it comes to this? We do have regulatory bodies in different industries, and sometimes you need permits in different industries to operate. For example, let's look into the Health Professions Council of SA. They regulate healthcare professionals and facilities. So if you are an optometrist or you're operating in the health sector and you're required to register with the Health Professions Council, when you go and apply for funding at the bank, they'll ask you if your license is up to date. You know why? Because if they find you and your license is not up to date, the council comes and close your business because you are not compliant with the regulations or the requirements of the sector. So it's very important that you do that. And then you have the Financial Sector Conduct Authority. If you are playing that space, either as a micro lender, make sure that you are in operating with the required permits, and also they don't expire. They are not expired, because it affects your business as a going concern. Imagine you're having an overdraft from the bank or other facilities from the bank, and your license then get cancelled by the authority. So the bankers and the investors always want to make sure that you are compliant to minimize their risk. So if you're going to go into mining, and especially in villages where people do sand mining, you need to get approval and a license from the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy. if they find you doing something illegal, you might be arrested. But I don't think you want that. But you'll be doing that to start a business. So you probably want to be proactive and make sure that you apply for the license proactively. And Department of Transport regulates permits for buses, minibus taxis, taxi services, and also e-hailing taxis. So if the police stop you and you're using your car as an Uber or as a taxi, and you don't have the papers, they might fine you. Then we have the Department of Environmental Affairs. So if you're going to start a business that its operations might have an impact on the environment, you need to apply for environment impact assessment study, then get approval to continue with that business. If you don't have, they'll shut down your business. And the bank will ask for a copy of EIA report to see that you have permission to do this kind of businesses by the relevant authorities. Otherwise, they'll come and close it down, and the funders lose their funds. Some of us, I saw, we're in the food industry. There's HACCP, which is important. So you need to consider that when you do the business, or the municipality is going to close it down. It might then also refers to municipal bylaws, where you can't just be trading anywhere on the street. I know one of my entrepreneurs here, was a victim of municipal bylaws. So the Metro Police came and asked him to move from where he was operating because his permit had expired. So it's very important that you do this so that you avoid your business not operating, and which will affect your going concern. Then the issues of health and safety compliance. Here, you're protecting yourself as an employer and also an employee of the business, and also employees and customers well, because you're using machinery and other things that might be dangerous. So you need to understand what are the health and safety compliance requirements for the industry that you're in. How do you use machinery? Do you need protective clothing? You need to have first aid kit in your business, because failure to comply with this can result in fines, legal action, and reputational damage. Imagine something happened to your employees or to a client who's at your premises, and your business is all over the news on social media, and the Department of Labor comes and closes you down. You don't want that. So understand what are the health and safety compliance that are required, especially if you're working with dangerous equipment. Then there's an issue of quality and standards, right? So here you definitely have to be proactive, because we have what we call South African national standards. So they ensure that products, services, and processes meet safety, reliability, and quality requirements. Then you have South African Bureau of Standards, which comes and regulate this quality of SA goods, of standards that have been set by South African national standards, and certify that your product, your service complies exactly with the standards that have been set by South African national standards. So South African national standards set the standards, and South African Bureau of Standards comes and certify that your processes, your systems are in compliance with the standard. And that those two work in South Africa, but now you want to open yourself up for international markets, right? Then we start talking about ISO standards. So they're simply just a seal of approval from a third-party body that you are implementing international standards. And South African Bureau of Standards is a member of ISO because ISO is a global standard. So if you find yourself in compliance with SEPS, it's easy to comply with ISO because SEPS also, or South African Bureau of Standards, take a cue from what ISO requires. But you still have to be compliant with ISO. B compliance, very important because government is very clear in terms of what they want to achieve with this piece of legislation. And as a small business, make sure that you empower yourself by complying with this and having the relevant documents, because this is meant to benefit you, right? Remember, if your business is 51% black owned and with a turnover of 50 million and below, you don't have to, get audited to get a triple B certificate. You can go either to the police station or to an accountant or to a lawyer to get a certificate, right? So it's very important that you do this. There's no need to go and be audited. So there's no need for you to say, I can't afford to have a B certificate. As long as your business turnover is less than 50 million and it's also 51% black owned. That's why it's one of the mandatory things they need when you're applying for a tender, government. I know that we have a lot of entrepreneurs who are in agriculture in the space. And if you want to really get into supply chains of local retailers and also export some of your products to the rest of the continent and overseas, you really need to follow global good agricultural practices. You need to make sure that you get somebody to come and help you and help you to secure global gap certification. So the focus here is on agricultural produce such as livestock and aquaculture, even fresh produce. So why this? So they safeguard food safety, workers' health and safety, animal welfare, and environmental protection. It will really position you in accessing international markets. These are one of the things that you need to be proactive. Then we come to our important and very interesting topic, which is taxation. We all know that we have to pay tax, right? But for you to be compliant and when you do business, you probably need a tax clearance certificate, which is valid for a year. We all know about this. But before you can get it, you need to register for tax, right? Number one. And once you've registered for tax, you annually need to, make your tax returns while you're in operation so that you can be in business and be operational. So there are a few types of tax that I will talk about. One is the income tax, which is corporate tax, which is levied on business profits, right? And then we have, I'll speak a bit about this one later. And then we have value-added tax, which is VAT. So here, business can voluntarily register for VAT if their turnover for the past 12 months has been less than 50,000, or they are anticipated to be less than, it will be more than 50,000. And secondly, it is compulsory for businesses to register for VAT if your turnover is over 1 million, meaning past 12 months, or you projecting your income to be over, your turnover to be over 1 million. And we are only talking about taxable, right? We must always look at taxable income. We must understand what are the things that are taxable in our business, which products are VAT exempt, and all that. It's not just applying. You need to really understand your industry and the product. And pay as you earn, as an employee or employer, you are obliged to deduct pay as you earn from your employees. And SARS will hold you accountable and liable. And if you don't do this, you can be fined. And the banks and financiers, when you apply for funding, they want to see your tax clearance, because nobody wants you to apply for funding, then they give you the funding and you take the money and you go pay your tax liabilities. We have seen that happening a lot in the banks. So banks don't want to do that. So make sure that you are in a good space. So I'm going to talk about small business corporation tax, which I can link it to the first tax I spoke about. So here, this type of tax, is targeted at sole proprietors and small businesses. And every year, as an entrepreneur, you need to find out what is your tax rate for this financial year. So government or SARS does publish that. And then we are able to understand what are the brackets, how much are you going to pay as a small business. So we're saying from a sole proprietor, you can pay, from 18% to 45%. So always make sure that you understand, the tax table, because the moment you start your turnover or your taxable income exceeds 95,750 rands, you're gonna start paying tax. But if your income is below 95,750, taxable income, you are not you're exempt from paying this tax. So you need to make sure that you understand exactly what is required and what are the brackets. This comes back to what I said about understanding the rules of the game, right? Yes, it's 95. Thanks, Christoph. Then we have turnover tax, which is important. What they've done here, they wanted to make it easy for small businesses to say, look, if your turnover is going to be less than 1 million and we can work on a turnover tax, this is how much you can pay, but just familiarize yourself with that, because we might not be able to go through that today in the session today. And then we have provisional tax. Here also SARS makes it easy for you, to pay your tax in 2 installments every 6 months, and so that you can remain compliant. It will be easy to negotiate with SARS if you manage to pay the first installment and you say, I'm just going through it. Challenges, we can negotiate so that you can remain compliant. But the banks will always want to see where you are. Then we have employment laws and regulations, which you can't do away with. Here, Basic Conditions of Employment Act, which you are required to put on your business premises, and your employees will have access to it and must know about it. Then there's Unemployment Insurance Fund, which is UIF. So you have to contribute a certain amount, deducted from the employees every month and paid over to UIF, so that the day when they are out of a job or on their own maternity leave, or they've been dismissed or the contract has expired, they can still earn a living. Then we have a skills development levy, which companies has to contribute towards the SETAs that they are linked to, so that the money can be used to empower and train employees. Then we have QUADA. QUADA is very important, fellow entrepreneurs. If, for instance, you're operating a construction business and something, you are not registered with QUADA, and an accident happens on the construction site, you might be liable, to a jail sentence. Your business might be closed down, and you might pay a fee in terms of penalty. So very important that you comply, you are registered, and you pay. And we have the Labor Relations Act, which regulates, collective bargaining, disputes, and unfair labor practices. And you need to understand what are your rights as an employer, and also what are the rights of your employees, and make sure they also know what their rights are. Because if you're found to be infringing those rights, it also has a bearing on your business reputation. Then Employment Equity Act, businesses, this is a legislation of government to say we need to give underrepresented employees opportunities, in the workplace, either, in management roles or executive roles, and they target women and people with disabilities. So those are, in brief, some of the issues when it comes to employment. Then data protection and privacy laws. Because of the rise of digital operations, compliance in this space is very important, because POPIA, manages or regulates how you collect and use personal and business data, and how you process that. Are you able to? Is it easily to have data breaches, and you find that people's business or information is all over? So it is very important. Imagine if this happens, we might be sued. No bank will want to give you money because you are very popular for data breaches. So they won't want to finance you, and you won't have clients as well. Then there's financial statements. I think we spoke about Companies Act. Those are annual returns that you are required to do every year. And the bank will tell you that, hey, we saw that you are not complying when it comes to annual returns, and they can deny you or decline your funding application based on that. And then Income Tax Act says you're required to file your tax returns on an annual basis to stay in business. So compliance is very critical, friends and colleagues, in running your business. So for now, you know where you are after we spoke about this. You know, out of all the areas that we spoke about, which ones are you green, orange, or red? You probably know. And it's not too late. It's about time, that you go and make sure that you rectify what you need to rectify before you start with that application for funding. And it's not just for your business, it's for us to build a good country, and also the banks to be able to say, look, we can trust, the business community in South Africa. When they're saying they're compliant, they are compliant. So our capital is not at risk because somebody's going to close them down tomorrow because they are not compliant in a specific area.
Yeah. Awesome. This is
Thank you for your indulgence.
Ashley. This is amazing insight, I think. It's a lot for us to chew on. And I like how some people are already indicating where they are in the scale of red, green, and yellow. It would be nice to just do a screenshot of that and put it in the WhatsApp group just for everyone to see if someone wants to. Thank you so much, but Ashley, you already got some insight, but let me give you this opportunity to really have a quick conversation with George and Thabo, and just hand over to you on that point, if it's possible.
Okay, thank you.
Over to you, Ashley.
Thank you, Tobeka, and welcome to the two entrepreneurs. This is the time, probably the moment that you've been waiting for, where you want to find insights and ask questions that will help you and your fellow entrepreneurs in making sure that you become funding ready. I always tell entrepreneurs that I go by the say that victory loves, preparation, right? And those who are Christians, I always say to them, just make sure that you comply and grace will locate you when you are compliant. Thank you. I don't know who wants to start. I'll start with George.
Oh, thanks again.
I'll start with George.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm George from Yobaba Clothing. We specialize in apparel sales. So just to ask on what the banks are really looking for, the minimum profit that they're basically looking at for the business to be eligible for funding. And also
George,
on
I can't hear you now. I think you are very faint and it's not network. I think it's the volume. On my side, I think I'm at the maximum.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, much better.
Yes, I'm saying, what is the minimum profit that one should be making in a business to be able to be eligible for a bank loan? And also which transactions to avoid, especially on our bank statements. Sometimes you get those emergencies that you end up withdrawing from the account. So which transactions to avoid in order to be attractive to the banks, and what are the risk factors? Yes, I know you've highlighted some compliances that you mentioned, but the risk factors that they look at, especially for a small SME that does not have much resources to attach to that loan. So I think those questions from my side will be fine.
Thanks, George. I think let me start with you, then we'll then talk to Thabo. So the first question in terms of profitability or profit is like asking how long is a piece of string, right? In South Africa, we at least have, or anywhere in the world, businesses are classified based on their size and turnover. But you still have to make sure that you are profitable, whatever you are doing, right? There's no minimum or maximum, but there are ratios that bankers will look into on your financial statements in terms of your profitability. So there are important ratios that you always have to ask your accountant, how can I improve on these ratios? What do these numbers mean, right? And in terms of what transactions to avoid, I think I won't say what transaction to avoid, but I will say make sure that you separate your business and personal transactions. So have a business account for your business and then pay yourself a salary into your personal account. Then you can swipe wherever you want to. If you are, going out with friends, you can use your personal account. But make sure that whatever you do in terms of profits that you make, you reinvest back into your business. You don't just withdraw. Today you get paid, you take out all the money. The funders will say, wow, this person is very serious. They are reinvesting back into their business. they are interested in the business. They want to see, the business grow. And the third question, was it about what risk?
Yeah. Yeah, the risk factors that they usually look at, especially with SMEs with no resources to attach to the bank loan or the funding that they put in place.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time.
Yes, I was saying the risk factors in terms of if the SME does not have resources to attach to the funding or to the bank loan.
Can you repeat? I'm struggling to hear you.
Can I suggest? Go ahead, Chris. Go ahead, Chris.
He's asking about collateral, I think, if you can't provide collateral, surety.
Okay, no, thanks, Christoph. So, George, you need to understand again the rules of the game. Are you applying for secured lending or unsecured lending? Secured lending, it might be where you have collateral. You're saying, I want a loan of 50 million, but I have this policy, or I have a house that I've inherited that I can provide as security. But on the other side, you want to buy machinery. So that is secured lending, because that machinery will be sold if you are not able to pay for your machinery. But the idea is to understand what are the rules of engagement. What are the rules around that kind of funding? The bank has different kind of fundings, which might be like asset-based finance, overdraft, term loans, other loans that you can pay over a period of time, and what you pay in, it becomes available for you. So you always need to understand, what is it that you want? Is it short-term or long-term? Sometimes you find that you want to finance a long-term asset with cash, which can be a mismatch. The bank will tell you there's a mismatch, or you want to fund a short-term asset with a long-term funding. And basically, they will also ask for all those other things that we spoke about this morning, depending on which industry you are in. If you tick the boxes in all those others, they will ask you about your SARS, your permits in the industry that you are operating. I hope I've answered your question, George, and also to other entrepreneurs. Can I now move to Thabo?
Hi everyone. I'm Thabo Mazibuko, the founder of Freshly Organic, and we specialize with fresh produce, so in the agricultural space. So a question that I have for Mr. Ashley is that, like, do I need to have like audited statements for my funding to be approved? Because you see, some of us are still small businesses, so the language of accounting, it's still a bit confusing. So yeah, I just want to know whether if they wanna need audited statements to approve. And number
Thanks,
two,
Thabo.
okay. And number two, as a former banker, what are the reasons for small business to get declined when they apply for business funding? Like, what are the common mistakes that they make? And then the third one, what do you advise for a small business seeking funding, especially in terms of financial projections and business plans? Because you see, during our workshop, we're doing the business model canvas. Will that be enough whenever I apply for funding, or they're gonna need a comprehensive business plan?
Okay, thanks, Thabo, for the three great questions. I think I'll start with the last question. Always know who's your target audience. Meaning, who are you applying for funding from? Is it a bank? Is it a private equity fund? Are they angel investors or crowdfunders? Because they have different needs. Angel investors and others might say they want a pitch deck, and the bank says, I want business plan. So always know, what does my target investor want? And you prepare according to what they want, not what you think they want. And then in terms of audited financials, the law says your financials must be prepared independently, right? So you can get a bookkeeper who can just sign off those. They are not audited, but they've been prepared independently.
Okay.
Because you can't do your own financials and submit them. And we don't know if we can rely on those financials. So there's no need to have, spend money on doing audits, going to the top 4 law firm, auditing firms to get your financials audited. You go to a bookkeeper who's registered with SAIPA or SAICA, and they can assist you because now they are compliant and you are independent, and you are doing that to gain credibility, with the bank with the financier that you are approaching. And the last one is why most of the time your applications get declined. Number one, I'm gonna try and be positive and say, what is it that you need to do to stand a chance to get your application approved? Both, but today we're talking about banks, but especially the banks. So make sure that you separate your personal and business transactions. That is very, very important. Secondly, reinvest profits back into your business because they can see that you don't withdraw everything. And make sure that you make regular payments or deposits into your bank account. You might be doing certain transaction cash. Don't take that money and you go and buy stock and it doesn't reflect in your bank account. It might reflect on your financial statement as the turnover or the sales that you made, but the money is not showing in the bank account because the bank will want to look at the bank statements and see whether they correlate with what's on your financial statements, right? So numbers on your financial statements should correlate or should match with what went through your bank account, right? And I know there's a saying that don't put your eggs in one basket. Bankers don't like businesses that are multi-banked. They want you to have one bank account, where all your monies are coming into. So don't have accounts at other banks. If you have an account at ABSA, make sure that you use that account for all the process because they don't know what's going to happen. You're going to get the loan, then you go service the debt at another bank. Record keeping is very important, right? Make sure that you keep accurate records of everything that happens in your business. And also avoid your account being overdrawn.
Yeah.
If you budget properly, you'll make sure that your account is not overdrawn. Because if your account is overdrawn, it affects what we call your conduct, gives you a behavioral score.
Yeah.
We're not even talking about credit score, we're talking about behavioral score. So they won't look at it positively if your behavioral score is not good. Thank you, Thabo. I hope I've managed to answer your questions.
Yes, yes, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Ashley.
them
Thank you,
well.
Tabo and George, for asking those questions on behalf of the group. But this doesn't mean the questions stop here. Please feel free to put the questions either in this chat and in the WhatsApp group, and we could see. And also remember, connected with what we were asked earlier on by Putsfiso. So now maybe some of you might add something else to that question around what you want to get from your coach at the moment. And I don't know how many of you have Ashley as a coach. Please tell us, how many of you are coaches of Put Ash in the group here? Please let us know in the chat. So now, now I don't know if you are re-looking at your question that you had before, if you're still going to stick to what you put there, or now it has taken what you're going to ask at your last coaching session. What are you going to ask him? I don't know if you all understand. I'm just connecting with that question that was asked by Putsfiso. What is that last thing you want from your coach? I hope some of this conversation has ignited that thought even more, or has shifted your response from earlier to now. I don't know if there's anything else. There's so much we could talk about, but really, let us all thank Coach Ashley for his amazing work, and do our reaction of a clap. And while that's happening, I'll have Rashida kind of coming on and move us into the next section of our time together. Thank you all for those claps. And over to you, Rashida. Ash, I'm sorry, sir. Please feel free to add your thought or question in the chat. Over to you, Rashida.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Okay, so just one thing that I must share with you when it comes to compliance, I'm the person who avoids it. I'm just like, it will sort itself out. But thank you, Coach Ashley, just for bringing it into my view and reminding me why it's so important. Yeah, it's essential, right? Especially if we want to think of scale and growing our little small businesses. So I really appreciate all the lessons you've given us today. Right, just to dive into our dates. So, as you know, this is workshop 7. Only one more workshop, I cannot believe it, is left. And then luckily for all of us, we will have some more time together. So after that, we'll have our content refresher, which is the 13th of November after your last workshop. We will then have, of course, your last coaching session will happen also mid-November. And then we will have an exciting conversation with coaches and all our participants talking about being fundable. So it's really about you now already starting to prepare those questions, or if you are preparing any sort of applications for funding, go through it, do hard things like Nombuyo says. And then at that session, if you come through, if you realize you've learned something, or you have questions, or there's something where you're stuck, bring it to that session. Let's all work through it and talk through it and see how we can unstuck each other. And then last but not least is our pitch submission. So you will be in the next workshop 8. Christoph will be hosting you to take you through what it means to pitch. And then we will also give you the exciting assignment of developing your own video pitch, which we will play at the closeout event. And of course, the winning pitches are going to get prizes, and it's all very exciting. So on the 19th is the actual deadline for your pitch submission, but be on the, where is workshop 8? On the 6th of November already, you will have we'll start to prepare for that. Okay. Then on the 20th of November, after that, we'll have your mental well-being session. We're bringing in some experts. We all been through the most this year. So we really want to wrap up this year in a healthy, mentally well state of mind. Yeah, and then of course our closeout event, 27th of November, where it's all about partying and celebrating all of you. And yeah, we're all very, very excited for that. And then don't forget, of course, after all of that's done, your last participant feedback will be due. In fact, now participant feedback 3 is still due. We are still outstanding about 27 participant feedback forms for cycle 3. So please please do that. For us, it's the only way that we get to hear your voice, you know, in a confidential way where you can just reflect on your experience. And we still have at least the next phase, next cycle, to improve or change or adapt or work on things that we need to. So please do fill that in, let us know. And if it is good things and good feedback, write that in also, right? Because we want to know, are we doing a good job? Should it be continued? You know, those kinds of things. That's what all of us want to know ultimately. Okay, so that's our dates. Then regarding your assignment, so of course, as usual, Christoph will post your assignments in the assignment and content group on the WhatsApp. And then I know that Amanda usually would email it to you as well. So yeah, you have no excuses. You will have the assignment. Please make sure that it's submitted on Tuesday next week, no later than midday. And yeah, of course, reach out on the helpline if there's any challenges you're experiencing. I know this topic is a tough one, but again, in Nombuya's words, do hard things. Do hard things. You will not regret it. Okay, and then your links have been sent to you in the chat. And now, to end of our workshop, please can you all complete the quiz? Tobeka has so kindly put in the quiz for today's workshop, just to see has what we've been speaking about landed. So please, we'll give you 2 minutes, Tobeka. And just to get moments of silence. Yeah, so thank you so much, and back to you, Tobeka.
Thank you very much, Rashida. You went through that very fast. I know time is time, and we adapting. And please click in the chat. I have the survey that's there already. I'm sure some of you have already started doing it. And then when you're done, just let us know in the chat, I'm done, or put an emoji. But anyway, yes. Anything else? Well, let's just I'll be quiet now for a minute to give you all a chance to go through that quiz. And feel free to copy and paste it and put it in the WhatsApp group as well, maybe, just in case.
That's why we don't call Amanda anymore. We call her Amandla. It's already there. She's posted it already.
Superb. We're all on the same page. Love it when that just happens naturally. That's why Amanda's Amandla. That's what you meant, right?
Amandla. So we must say away to. Yeah? Amandla, away to. Amanda, you are our power.
I've got such a bad signal, but I'm laughing in the background.
You are our power, our powerhouse.
Thank you. I try.
Always ahead of your game. Thank you. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Noble.
Amandla. What a session. What a session. What a session. You know, as we close, there's something that I want to share. Do you know that one time I was at a seminar with many funders, you know, different funders. You know what they said? That they have lots of money available to give. But entrepreneurs are not available to get. They have money to give, but the entrepreneurs are not available to get the money simply because they are not compliant. So money is there, guys. Money is there. It's available. Banks want to borrow you money. Funders want to give you money. So it's up to you to be compliant. Ashley, angithi it's true. There's
Very
lots
true.
of money.
Very true. I mean, if you know, banks have put aside empowerment funding. And most of the time, I know all the 4 banks, the monies, they don't even spend half of it. But most of the time, it's because entrepreneurs are not ready.
Yes. So if you are just going to I like what you said, Ashley. You said victory loves preparation. So just do what needs to be done. And there's another story that I want to share as we close, that I heard actually a few weeks ago that someone shared. They were not making money in the business for 5 years. For 5 years, they were not making money, but they made sure that they are compliant, they submit their tax returns and everything. And guess what? On year number 6, they came across an opportunity, and this particular person looked at different businesses, but the main thing was that those businesses must be compliant. They didn't even care about how much money that business was making. They were only interested to make sure that that business is compliant. That person got that opportunity, and that opportunity was worth millions. Not because he had such business skill, but simply because he was compliant. So what we are talking about is very, very important, very important. And do it. The sooner you do it, and as a habit, the better for you. Thank you so much. Thank you for the quizzes. Thank you, Ashley, for a wonderful, inspiring session. You've made compliance palatable. You've made it tasty. It's made it palatable. Thank you to our entrepreneurs for being available to be our case studies. Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone here. It's so good when we all meet in order to grow these businesses. Thank you so much to each and everyone here. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye, 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 bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Oh, I had a different sound. I was talking to the power.
Yes.
Have a wonderful day. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys. Cheers. See you soon.
Guys, make me do all the moving.
Yeah.
I'm not a
No, no.
You know, it's
coach.
easy. You know, we
No.
could just leave and then come back, right?
Yeah, we could, I suppose. Recording stopped.